All right, welcome to the very first episode of Redemption Podcast. My name is Jacob. I'm the owner of Redemption Ride Company. And today I'm here with a very special guest, my good friend Ethan Bailey, owner of EB Thrift Shop.
What's up?
How's it going?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good. This is the very first episode. Kind of weird, kind of, trying to figure it all out, but really excited for what this is going to bring. Like, our whole goal and mission, right, is to go out and spread a message of redemption to everybody. And so helping people find the barriers that are holding them down in their life and inspire them to overcome it. And so one of the ways that we want to do that now is by having this show and bringing on people like you who you're going to share your story in a little bit. Really cool stuff. I've had the pleasure of knowing Ethan for a while, and it's just really cool. You've inspired me to do a lot, and so I hope that your story will also inspire others. And that's kind of what we're all about. So you want to introduce yourself and kind of say a bit about what is EB Thrift Shop before we get started?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Ethan. People call me EB. That's where the name EB Thrift Shop comes from. That's my initials. So I sell vintage clothing. It's my full-time, my business. That's what I do. I've been doing it for probably about 3 to 4 years now. I started full-time only about 8 months ago. I'm set up in multiple locations. I do pop-ups and stuff like that. So pretty much like what my mission is to kind of like give secondhand clothes a second chance, a second life, because there's so many clothes being sent to landfills, and I don't know. I
Give
just
them a chance at redemption. Slide.
Yeah, there you go. Little sponsorship right there.
Plug.
Yeah. I always just felt a little guilty like wearing brand new clothes and everything. So I kind of just it's just a personal decision that I made to start selling secondhand clothes.
Awesome. Well, we're happy to have you. I'm happy to have you.
Yeah.
So how we're planning on having this go is that every however often we make the show, I'm gonna start off by presenting some redemption news of what's going on in the world, like places that people are seeing some redemption happening in real life, in our media, on sports, or in business, or whatever's happening in the real world. And so today we're going to start off by giving out a shout out to the Jacksonville Jaguars. This weekend, if you were watching Wild Card Weekend in the NFL, you would know that that Jacksonville was down 27-7 in the first half, and they came back and won 31-30. What
Dang.
A cool game! Like for Trevor Lawrence, amazing game. And if you're a football fan, pretty cool redemption story. So that's the only one I have for now. But if you guys have any, please just let me know, and I'll make sure to include them in the next episode.
I know absolutely nothing about sports, so I have no idea what that means.
I hope they do.
Did they win?
They won.
Oh, okay.
31-30, man. Huge. Come on. How did you not know about No, there's nothing wrong with not knowing football.
There's also nothing wrong with knowing football.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
It means a lot. All right, so let's get into your story and everything that you've done over the past few years with EB. So tell us about the beginning. What like you said you wanted to really grasp the idea of recycling clothes, redeeming clothes, you know, and wanting to wear some old stuff instead of some new stuff. And so what inspired you to start selling that old stuff?
So I probably about 4 years ago, I started thrifting a whole lot, and I just absolutely loved it. And when I would go, people would they would come up to me and they'd be like, "Oh, where'd you get that?" And I was like, "Oh, I thrifted it." And then they would literally try to buy it from me, and I was like, wait, I just bought this for like a cheap price, like thrifted, everything. And so I started flipping, and I actually ended up making a bit of money doing that. And so I kind of realized that there's a little bit of a potential doing that. And although I do have, a guilty conscience in wearing fast fashion clothes, I still do support, small businesses and everything. Like I'll wear Redemption Ride stuff. Don't worry.
I appreciate that, man. I was starting to think, I was like, man, you're putting me out of business.
Yeah. I didn't mean to put you under the bus like that. My bad. Good. Yeah. So that's pretty much what happened. That was about 4 years ago, and I kind of built my way up from there.
Awesome. So where'd you sell? You said you friends and stuff were buying stuff off you. Just yeah, like was it the clothes off your back? Like when did you actually start going out and finding things to bring other people and like being like, hey, oh, you're looking for that? Oh, I saw that somewhere. Was it more of like a, yeah, like a friend asking you, hey, I want like a fleece hoodie. Do you know where I could get one? And then you were like, oh yeah, I know a place. Then you got it for them, or like how'd you start doing that?
Yeah, so I actually right now, so I have an Instagram for my shop. It's EB Thrift Shop. That's where I pretty much started everything. But before it all started, that account was actually my Finsta. I would post the dumbest stuff on there. I would post like like behind the scenes of like my own life. Like I don't know. I feel like a lot of people do that. Did you ever do that?
I don't think I had a Finsta, but I know I followed yours.
There you go. Yeah. So that's pretty much what started. Like I would just post, my favorite finds at the thrifts, and then people would try to buy them. And I just realized there's potential for that. And then I kind of just started getting invited to selling in in-person shops. And then I started doing markets. That was probably a few years later, but so when I first started, I just started getting like customers from people in my classes and just my close friends and everything. And so that's pretty much how it started.
Cool. So then what was the moment where you realized like, oh man, this could actually be a business? Was there like some random person who wanted to buy something from you and you're like, who is this person? Like, wow, random people want to buy? Or was it more of like I don't know, like what was the moment where you're like, oh, this could be like a business?
I don't think there was an exact moment that I can think of. It was just more of like a gradual thing. And of course, because right now I don't, I sell in such large quantities and in large volumes, I can't source everything on my own at thrift shops. And so I do have, suppliers that, they supply me with secondhand vintage clothing, obviously, and that they source from these warehouses that are, they're just exported, like all these vintage used clothing that's just been sitting there for many, many years. And so it is very ethical and it's sustainable. I source sustainably. So, yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So where from there? So obviously, like, I have you here because there's a redemption story somewhere here, right? There's a point when maybe felt like it was going away or the dream was going away, it went downhill, and then it somehow came back up again. So I guess I don't know if we've kind of gotten to that point, but you're selling online, like doing well, selling to friends, expanding beyond that. Was there more rise before a fall there, or was there I'm kind of trying to figure out where the fall is in the timeline,
So let me think. I started doing this full time about 8 to 10 months ago, and right before that, I would say is where the redemption came. I was selling. I just finished selling at a shop in person. I was doing a guest booth, and that was like when my sales online just dropped. Like I used to make consistent online sales. I would do maybe 20 to 30 orders a week, and it dropped to like I wouldn't even say one, like maybe 1 to 2 a week. And that was like obviously like that was super discouraging. It was pretty depressing to me. I was like, wow, like I was actually making money out of this and now there's nothing coming into my pocket. And so
you know why you think that happened? Sorry to cut you off. Just
yeah,
what?
I mean, it might have been the Instagram algorithm, since I was, my main source of making orders were on Instagram. I'm not too sure what happened. Maybe it's just lack of engagement from my audience. But that's when I kind of realized that the key to, making orders and everything and like fulfilling orders and getting customers is consistency. It's not only like on Instagram too. And like a quick little side note, don't build your business on one single platform, because like, for example, I built my business all on Instagram. But what would happen if Instagram were to shut down? Like I would just lose like my whole business. Like I would literally lose all my customers. And so that's when I kind of started expanding, and I kind of started to realize that, like if I were to stay consistent and I could like build off of other platforms, I can kind of just gain more of an audience. And so I expanded. I started selling on Depop and Grailed. Those are 2 selling platforms. For those who don't know, it's kind of like the Facebook Marketplace or a Kijiji of like clothing, basically. And so I was selling on those, and I've recently hopped onto TikTok, and it's been doing really good. So Yeah, like I guess it was just kind of an awakening moment. I was like, yeah, like consistency. I just got to stay consistent, and you know, even in the discouraging times, I can't just like, you know, quit. You know, I need to stay through, you know, fight through those dark times, the times where, you know, sales will be low. You know, because it's not always going to be rainbows and unicorns.
No, that's well said, man. I think we kind of skipped over this too, though. Like, what part do you think was COVID a part that played in your online sales back in the, I don't know what the timeline was exactly, but like, was it kind of after COVID when you started going in person, people weren't shopping on Instagram or online as much? Was that the same thing, or was that not related at all?
I mean, I started actually like being more serious in my business when COVID first hit. What year was it? Was it 20? Yeah, so COVID hit 2020, and I pretty much started at the end of 2020. I started getting more, like being more active. And so because people were all online, you know, everybody's stuck at home, that's when the orders were all coming in, because I was big on doing Instagram live streams, and everybody would just join in, and they would just like,
oh yeah, that was sick. I remember.
Yeah, they people were bored, and so they would just hop on and be like, okay, I'll buy that, and then I would just, you know, make a couple of bucks like every night. I would do it on Instagram live. So I would say that COVID definitely did impact my sales, but as you know, things started to open back up, I kind of realized like I need to move in person. Like I need to start selling like in shops and stuff. And so that's when I started doing pop-ups, and I started selling in person at, you know, physical permanent stores. And so that's just, yeah, I just built my way up from there.
Sick. I think that one thing that like was key that I started figuring out too is that your brand, your company has to have a face to it. Obviously, like, there's some things where, okay, like it's the product, the face, okay, but when you're trying to promote something more than just the product you're selling, then like you need a face. And so like I think it was so key for you to get out and like be there, be present. And like that's why I think that's also why Instagram works so well for you too, is like though like those live streams, what like was awesome. You were like actually just standing in front of the camera and like showing off each individual piece of clothing, and like I would just look at the comments and be like, I want it, and then like whoever commented first got the thing, and it's like it looked like a mess to organize. I remember you showing me, you were like writing it all down on a paper, and then, like had to do it all after, but I don't know, just cool. It was so personal. It was so like, and people loved that. The people who knew you, the people who didn't know you too. It was just cool. It had a face to it.
Yeah, and I think what people often forget to do in businesses is to have like your own little thing. Like, you know, my thing was Instagram lives, and obviously it's changed, but like don't be afraid to have your own little niche, your own little thing that like makes you stand out from other businesses, you know. Like I love creativity. Like I love like just creating like what I think is what makes my business like mine, you know. Like for example, like when I post stories, like I always try to get creative, you know. Like I use like the drawing art stuff, and I use like GIFs and stuff, and like I just make it like look creative and cool. And like when people see my stories, I'm sure they're like, oh yeah, that's EB's, because like, you know, like I want to be different. I don't want to be like that same, you know, thrift shop that everybody else has, or every other thrift seller or every other reseller has, you know. So yeah.
That's cool. You also mentioned like, well, you didn't mention it on camera yet, but telling me how, like the connection with other vendors, the connection with other businesses was such a big part of like over the past year, you kind of taking off. Was like, okay, there's a networking to be done. Like, what exactly did that look like? How did that impact your business?
Oh man, I can't emphasize the importance of connections. Like, if you're starting a business, like, you need to not be afraid to get your name out there, get yourself out there, and to, you know, start talking to other people. Just the other day, you know, I was at a coffee shop with like one of my friends, and before I left, I started talking with the owner, and I was just like, we were just talking about business, and I was like, oh, I actually run a business too. And he's like, oh, well, maybe we can collaborate in the future sometime, you know. Like just like these little conversations is like what sparks like these like little ideas, you know. Maybe eventually we'll start, you know, collaborating together, and I'll, you know, like we'll do something together with like coffee and clothes. I don't know, like whatever. So
haven't you done that? You've done like a cafe pop-ups and stuff.
I have done cafe pop-ups. Yeah. You know, so like honestly, like just get your name out there. Don't be afraid to like get creative like with like your projects and everything, you know.
Sick. Yeah. And so can you think of like a moment in particularly where like I don't know, someone specific you met and an event that came from it, or a collaboration that came from it that really just took off? Like one of the partnerships either you have now or you had before, like, I don't know, what was the coolest proof of that paying off?
Actually, my very first pop-up that I did, there's this thrifting event. It's called TSM, the street market. They're based in Toronto, but they travel. They're a traveling market, and they came exactly a year ago. That's when I started doing in-person pop-ups. They came to Montreal, and they did 3 markets in 4 weeks, and I was invited to all of them. I applied to them, but I also knew the owners because, with the vintage, because of the vintage community, because of Instagram, and because I would, reach out and I would try to meet new people. And so the owners of TSM, I kind of just got to know them. And, it was just super awesome that that was also the first time I met them in person too. So it was like super weird, like seeing like them face to face and everything.
That's it.
But just like because I was connected with them online, and we would like share like certain creative stuff and stuff like that. That's just how I got connected. Yeah.
Cool. And so moving away from online to now, like multiple in-person locations, or like like other stuff going on. How did that happen, and how, I don't know, like kind of talk about that. What was your experience with moving from just pop-ups to now, okay, hey, you can always shop at for EB clothes at this location? Like how was that transition?
Yeah, so this past summer was like I was a traveling thrift shop basically. Like every single weekend I was out doing events, doing markets, and most of them were out of town, unfortunately, because Montreal is kind of dead in terms of like doing like thrifting pop-ups.
So like where would you go?
I would go to Toronto. That's a big place. They're very big in vintage and everything. So I'll go to Toronto often. I just lost track. What was your initial question?
On the locations, like the transition from pop-ups to like physical locations all the time.
Yeah. So when I finished the summer, when I finished traveling all the time, I made so many connections. Like each weekend I would have all the like dozens and dozens of customers, and I would meet all these new people and vintage resellers as well. And so kind of over that time, I just built my reputation. I kind of got my name out there. And so the local Montreal like vintage resellers, they kind of saw me and they noticed me, and I started making connections, and then I kind of reached out to them, and I was invited to multiple locations, and now I'm in the works of becoming a vendor at a 3rd location that starts opening February 4th. So
that's sick, man. And then all in the Montreal area?
Sorry?
And they're all in the Montreal area?
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. Cool. So what else? Like, where do you have come this far now? You're doing this full time. This is what you want to do. How long? What do you see in the future? Like, I don't know, what's the future look like for EB Thrift Shop?
That's actually a good question. I asked this a lot myself. I kind of this was completely unexpected. Like I didn't plan to do this full time. Like I was in school. I was working I was in school to work in the field of recreation. And then I finished school and I had my shop already running. It was part-time. I wasn't doing much. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try for a little bit to do this full time, and I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to see where it takes me. And after the summer, I was like, I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to stop. So, I didn't let anything stop me. I just kept going, and I just pushed myself further. Right now, I would say one of my top goals is definitely to open up my own personal shop. I would love to just have my own spot where like people can just come and like shop EB, like exclusively. Because like right now I'm at other locations, which I'm very thankful for, and I'm so thankful for the owners for letting me be there and everything. But there's just something different about owning your own shop. You know what I mean?
Ah, for sure.
So that's definitely one of my top goals. Yeah.
Awesome. And where can people go buy your stuff? Like, is this where are you? Where can they go right now?
So right now I'm set up, for those who live in Montreal, I'm set up at Marché Flo. That's on Saint Denis Street. It's pretty much in the heart of Montreal. It's a very, very popular street. There's high foot traffic and everything. So Marché Flo, there's 25 vendors, and I'm one of them that's there. And I'm also a vendor. I'm a long-term guest vendor at the Gallery Montreal. That's in NDG on Sherbrooke Street. It's right across from Girard Park. And so you can always visit that, those two locations. And the third location that we're opening, it is going to be called Tricky 2. So there is Tricky Inc., but we're opening up the second one. It's called Tricky 2. And that one's opening up in Point Claire.
That's so cool, man. So exciting. Congrats on that.
Yeah, thank you.
So cool.
So exciting.
If you could say like one thing that just makes your thrift shop different than the others, like why? I know that like no, you're like obviously you share the locations with everybody else, but like EB Thrift Shop in and of itself, you kind of shared your mission a bit. What makes you different than the other thrift shops that people have in Montreal, I guess, or in general?
I would say I try as best as I can with my business to make it personal. Like when people shop with me, I want them to know that there's a face behind the product. You know, like right now I'm also in the works of opening up a website, and with that website, when they're shopping, I want them to know that it's not just about a business. It's about, you know, like the connection between the customer and, you know, just like I want them to know that there's love behind every single order that is fulfilled.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah.
Love that. That's so cool, man. Awesome. So you've done this, you've come on this journey, you're going still forward. I think you're still planning on going full time for now. It's not looking to end anytime soon. What's like we kind of gave like some little tips and advices here and there throughout the show, but like what's one thing I guess you could say to everyone on like what they can do to sorry, I just saw the camera turned off. We got a camera that turned off. Or we can go on the other one. What's a piece of advice that you would have for, I guess, any entrepreneur trying to start this thing? Because I know like it could be all unorganized, like key to staying organized, or key to staying focused, or key to staying driven. Like I don't know, what's a lesson that you've learned? That's a better way to say what I'm trying to say. What's your big lesson that you've learned?
A lesson that I've learned, I would say, is that you can't please everybody, and not everybody will be pleased to work with you. That's something that I've definitely learned recently. You know, I had a bad experience with another business, and unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to do business again. But it's just how we work. You know, like sometimes things don't work out, and you know, it's just you can't please everybody. And so, I would reinforce the things that I said previously. Making connections, so important. That's crucial to your business. And also consistency, like always posting, and always, you know, staying on top of your work and everything. And also to just not be afraid of the times where, you know, your sales might be low. Like, you know, you can't expect it always to be running super smoothly and for it to be doing super well. And that's something that I realized early on as well, that, you know, I just got to fight through it. I just got to keep going, and I just got to hope that it'll eventually get better, you know? So
well, that's well said, man. And there's always redemption for those who are looking for it. Like you've seen that, like you looked for it and you found it, and like, man, it's there. And I'm happy for you. That's super awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and share that with you too. I hope you guys, you really were inspired by what Ethan had to say as well. And with that inspiration, use it to, you know, to find your own redemption, experience your own freedom, and use that to inspire others, because that's what we want to do. That's why we're here.
Cool.
So thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And we'll see you guys next time on The Redemption Show.